I am live. Hello, everyone. This is Chala Dinkoy, CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert. Welcome to the first 2022 Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. I think it's the first one. Yeah, of course it is. And sadly, I'm one of those people who still hasn't taken down the Christmas tree, but I'm waiting for Logan to do that today. I've got the box already, so he is going to be taking that down, whether he wants to or not. And today, I'm so excited because I'm just full of fire for the new year. It was an amazing banner year considering what we're clawing back for. I was a little bummed out yesterday because it was announced that gyms and schools are closing again. And, we had a good run with the gyms. We had a couple of months. So I was able to get some muscle built. Not that I don't, build muscle at home, but it's such a different environment. It's such a different feeling. And I'm able to push myself more on the machines and it feels better. It's just bigger, right? I mean, I live in a tiny condo. I do work out at other places. I trade between my ex husband's home, and that's where Logan's being homeschooled. It's just a mess. It's just, I'm hoping it's going to happen, like go away quickly. But this second variant is not going away quietly, at least in Canada. That seems to be like reverting back. And then, of course, the schools are closed. So doing everything from home. So, but the good news is we're much better adapted to deal with it right now. Everything's in place. Yeah, onwards and upwards. I mean, I'm still pursuing speaking jobs in the US. I'm hoping to be able to still travel there. I'm going to be going to meetings. I'm going to be getting new clients in the US. And so it's full, steam ahead for me. And I'm so excited to share with you some of the things that I'm going to be learning and teaching about and doing in the new year. One of the things that I'll be doing that's really exciting first year right off is for only 8 what we call WBEs, which are women business enterprises who are certified women business owners. I am having a private, only 8-person where we sign NDAs and we have a private discussion about matchmaking meetings. This is where diversity organizations arrange for matchmaking meetings between large corporations and WBE members like us, which are suppliers. And so if you're one of those and you're watching this, please go ahead and apply to take your place. We've got 2 more spots. You can apply at repositioner.com/roundtable. So that's happening in 9 days. So I'm really excited about that. The other thing I'm excited about is I'm renewing my efforts to continue to speak in the US because I had not pursued any speaking opportunities in the US, whether virtually or not. It usually just came to me. But this year I'm going to redouble my efforts because when I look back at my success of the 75% growth, most of it came from the very few speaking engagements that I did even virtually. So I'm going to be pursuing those full force in the next year and still continue, the education, all the regular funnels and channels of, the Tuesday Tea Time, my podcasts, my email marketing, and my master classes, my education that's going to be streaming. But in addition, I'm going to be, pushing forward with that speaking bit of it. So here is another wonderful topic I wanted to talk to you about. One of the things I'm getting more interested in is, the sales meeting and B2B sales and that whole sales conversation. Now, what I teach people is how to get the darn meeting in the first place, because in my book, everything that happens up until the question of how much is it is considered marketing, because it is in effort to try to get into that sales meeting, to get the corporate buyer to ask you to come in for a meeting. And that's all still, relevant and very, very much needed. And most of my content is around that. And my specialty is really to prepare you, to position you, and then to message you in a way that hooks that meeting, hooks the buyer into giving you that meeting. But a lot of business owners and my clients are complaining about the lack of success in those meetings because of many, many, many reasons. So when I hit on research about B2B sales, tricks and tips and just any kind of research that gives us insight about what's happening with the buyers world, especially in 2022, I am super excited. So, every week I start the week by doing some research on what are some of the hot topics, what are some timely things that I can talk about. Here's my tea. It wouldn't be Tuesday tea time if I didn't drink from my new favorite mug. And I look for topics that are going to be of interest to you and of use to you. So this week I found, and it wasn't easy. I, go through a whole bunch of, I have memberships in all the, the ink and the marketing and all the New York Times, all the big publications. But I actually go into and read some of the things and then click into some of the research that they're mentioning. And in those, it's usually I find the bingo, because I love research based conversation. I just everything. I mean, I guess I'm a little bit of a research geek, because for 18 years when I worked for large corporations, I had to sell ideas based on backed by research. You couldn't just walk up and say, this is my opinion, this is my experience. A lot of people in the consulting world are happy to do that, and they're great to do that. But it's because of this corporate background that I have that I feel like everything has to be sort of justified and everything has to be proven. So very, very excited to find this research conducted by a company called Gone. And again, I did not know about this company, but I'm really excited to consume some of their content and might even engage with them to see what else I can do with them. They're a marketing company, believe it or not, and they've done this research based on analyzing hundreds and hundreds of different sales transactions that their clients went through. And this was in 2021. So here's some of the advice that they came up with. And I added some of my own, and I put it together as B2B sales meeting ninja sales tricks. Why ninja is because it's super masterful and it's quick and it's, kind of like secrets, right? But, and they're like tricks. And so I love the use of that imagery in my head, is that, somebody who's a ninja with anything is just a superb master that you want to watch them flawlessly and perform something seamlessly. So the first piece of research that they offer is don't sell with slides, because here's the interesting fact is that the win rates, so the close rates, the sales close rates drop 17% with slides. And some of the reasons that they have found in the research is that when you are focused on presenting slides, the seller, which is the vendor who's doing the presentation, asks 21% fewer questions, and the seller talks 15% more than the time spent where the prospect is actually speaking. So this is one of the cornerstones of what I teach in especially the 5-step conversation model. Is the 5-step conversation model is all made up of open-ended questions, and they're not leading, they're not closed-ended where you're telling them this or that. You're literally asking very short open-ended questions, and it completely is verified by this finding of don't sell with slides. Something very interesting happened at the beginning of COVID is I hired a coaching program to teach me how to do online masterclasses. And one of the things that they're teaching is get rid of the slides. Slides lose people, especially online. You cannot hide behind slides. This actually, this Tuesday Tea Time with Chala came out of that. There's no slides here, folks. There's nothing. I have to literally do this presentation to you for however long, 15, 20 minutes, based on these little notes that I have. But the good part is that you see me like as if I'm in front of you, I'm talking to you instead of I'm talking to slides. And especially in a sales meeting, part of the 5-step conversation is to discover the urgency, is to discover and confirm the pain, is to discover the future perfect. So if you're letting go of that opportunity to spend that time on those 5 questions rather than selling them and showing them the slides, it's all tell versus ask, which I'm a certified coach, and one of the things that they teach us is, it has to be 80% listening. So, and if you're not listening, you're presenting. So that's one of the biggest ninja secret tricks in B2B sales meetings, in any sales meeting, really. Number two, a B2B ninja sales success trick is never negotiate over email. So apparently, close rates spike if the price is talked about on an email. So if they give you the price on an email, it goes to 30%. But if a question from the buyer comes about the price, and it's not usually saying, can you lower the price for us? It's usually in the format of, is this included? Or is this covered? Or does this mean this is kind of comprehensive? I don't have COVID. I just have to drink. Well, that's the opening when a buyer asks a question in the email about the price. It is the opening to move offline into an actual call, a Zoom, or an in person. If you try to answer them and to try to negotiate or you might think it's something very simple and straightforward, but it has always been my experience. But also now it's being shared by this research, is that you lose the sale. And what happens is, if the buyer asks a question about the price and you answer it on an email, the close rates drop from 30 to 10%. I mean, it's huge. So never, never, never answer anything to do with price except to communicate it. So communicating it in an email, first off, is great because that's your starting point. But to answer questions with regards to that, then you need to move it off. Okay. Number three, B2B sales meeting ninja success trick. Now that's a mouthful, my goodness. Is to establish the value of what you're selling before naming the price. So here is what the research showed, is that unsuccessful demos talked about the price at around the 20-25 minute mark. Whereas compared to the successful demos, and when I say demos, these are like selling sales presentations where you're showing the product, service, or software or whatever. And the successful ones talked about the price at 38 to 46 minutes in an hour-long meeting. So you know what that means is that they already had demonstrated the value of what they could do for the buyer and before talking about price. So if you talk about price too soon without demonstrating value, you're a goner. It really drops. It drops. The success rate drops. Now, I already was teaching this, and it's great to know, it's great to confirm this, because part of the 5-step process of the 5-question close method that I teach is to establish what is the cost of the problem. And once you establish the cost of the problem, and then you take them through a solution steps of how you've helped other people in that same problem, and then you talk about price, that's when you can comparatively show them that your price is a fraction of the problem. And you've already demonstrated how you've helped others in the same industry, in the same problem, come up with a solution and to avoid the cost of the problem. So that's ninja success trick number 3, is to establish the value before you talk about the price in the meeting. B2B sales ninja trick success trick whatever. Number 4, and I'll need another. I don't know what's happening with my throat. It's super dry in my condo. Is to discuss the budget. Again, this is all about money, right? It's all about money. Discuss the budget on the first call and the price in the first call. So here's the win rates. It's crazy. If you don't mention the budget at all in the call, the win rate is 7% if you don't mention the budget. If you don't mention the price, the win rate is 5% on the first call. Then it goes to 49% close rate if you mention the budget on the first call, and it goes to 42% close rate if you mention the price. So it's two different things, right? One is you talk about the budget discussion, and the other one is you're actually naming your price, and it just goes down from there. But really, the first call needs to be where you talk about the budget and when you mention the price. So the way that we do this, again, in the training that I give to my clients about the 5-step process, is there is a question where, first of all, there's a step where you offer them a rough solution. You co-create a rough solution, and then once you co-create the rough solution, you give them sort of a benchmark, range of price. And then the golden question is, which piece of this would you be willing to bite off right now? So that is the golden question that actually, one, gets you to talk about budget in the first meeting, and then you could actually mention the price, because you're talking about, even though you don't have to have sharpened the pencil to the penny, you should know a range of how much a similar solution cost for a similar size project. And when you're going in with that knowledge and you're giving them some sort of small, not a huge gap, but some sort of range of pricing, you've talked about price in your first meeting, and you've talked about budget by asking them which piece they'd like to bite off first. Because then if they say, whoa, 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 that's too big, then you can outline which piece of the scope of work that you just co-created together you can perform for that budget, and then how you can phase it out within their budget. So those are some ways that you can close at a higher rate by talking about budget and price in the first meeting. And the last bit of advice that I have for you guys is really about who's in the meeting, and it's to have both the person who's in charge of the budget and the authority in the same room. And was actually proven. It's very interesting. It's proven by this research because team selling. So the larger the size of the team that you're presenting to, that the buying team, the higher your purchase deal size goes up. So the larger the number of buyers that you're presenting to, the larger the purchase they'll make. At the same time, what's really interesting is the selling team. So your team, win rates go up from 15% if you're just by yourself selling, to 50% if you have 3 people or more on your selling team, which explains why a lot of tech companies are sending larger teams of tech owners of the technology with the actual sales rep. So if you can get 3+ people, 3 or more people selling, your chances of closing are 50%. Now, why do I think that both the authority and the budget need to be in the room? Because the way that we sell, the way that I teach how to sell, is the co-created solution, where you are actually creating the scope of work in the room on the spot together. And the more people who are either influencers or end users or check signers who have to be in on this decision have their opinion behind this scope of work while you're building it together, the more they're going to feel ownership of that solution. And the more they'll be able to speak to the budget, which you were supposed to talk about in the first call, and to be able to determine which piece of the entire budget they are willing to bite off right now. So I hope that makes sense. I just love talking about the sales. Once you're in the meeting, I just love talking about how to refine what you're already doing so that you have a much higher close rate. But the whole idea is to get into the meeting. And in order to get into the meeting, what we're finding increasingly necessary, and one of my calls this morning with the client was all about the ABM, which is the shock and awe method of making a short list of who to target, and then going after those large accounts by doing big 1 or 2 shot, expensive ways to get in front of them, just so you'll get that one chance of a meeting. but you have to do a ton of research before and a ton of research during, and then to be able to follow up so that you're relevant, one, in catching their attention and hooking their interest, two, in getting the meeting, and three, in closing the meeting. So those are some of the ways that I think you can start to improve your marketing and sales rep success rates in 2022. So I hope that was helpful, everyone. Happy 2022. I am super excited. My leggings actually match, you see. And the reason why I'm wearing it's not clashing. There's actually a mauve. I don't know if you can see, but there's a mauve inner layer. But anyway, that's a little bit of fashion advice. So thank you, everyone, and all the best in 2022. Oops, I lost you there for a minute. Bye bye.